Good afternoon. Oh, it's the last day of the week, and we're going to have our devotion today. And the topic of our devotion today is greed and obedience. And so our timeline for our devotion today happens right at the same time as our story from Wednesday. Remember Wednesday, we talked about the woman in the Old Testament named Rahab, who kind of was a hero for the Israelites, even though she was a dweller of the city of Jericho. She allowed the spies to hide out at her house when they were taking over the city of Jericho, and she had a very instrumental part in the victory for the children of Israel over the Canaanites. So the story that I'm going to tell you today happens exactly during this time. As the children of Israel were kind of, conquering the city of Jericho, there was something else going on behind the scenes, and today we're going to learn about this story. So the timeline is directly after or during the fall of Jericho, and Jericho is conquered. Okay, we hear that Joshua sends all the soldiers in, and they take care of Jericho, and they kill everybody. There is a very important instruction from God concerning the city of Jericho and what the children of Israel were supposed to do when they went into the city. The instructions for Jericho were as follows from the Lord. Number 1, kill everybody in the city except for Rahab and who was in her house. So kill everyone in the city, including people and animals. Don't leave anything alive except for Rahab and whoever was in her home. And take the valuables that you find for the use for the Lord's work. So for his temple, his tabernacle, things like that. Don't take it for yourselves. Take it and put it in the treasury for the Lord. So kill everybody, kill all the animals, take the valuables for the Lord's work. That's what God's instructions were. So there comes a problem. I'm going to read to you Joshua chapter 7, verse 1. And this is what it says right after the children of Israel took the city. This is right after. He says, "But the children of Israel committed a trespass." That means they did something wrong. "In the accursed thing. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel." So somebody did something wrong. During the attack on Jericho, a man named Achan, who was of the children of Israel, took some clothing and some gold and some silver from the victory. He took it from, someone in the city that he killed or something. I looked it up, and the value amount was kind of in the $20,000 range of today. So it was a good amount. So he took clothing and he took valuables. Joshua, the leader of Israel, is obviously unaware of what Achan has done. So Joshua, after conquering, Joshua is obviously unaware of this sin, and so after conquering Jericho, he follows what the Lord had instructed him to do, and he sets his sight on the next city, and the next city is called Ai. So just like Jericho, Joshua sends a band of spies. They return, and excuse me, please, just for 1 second. I'm so sorry. He sends a band of spies. They return, and they come back and they say, "Hey, there's not very many people in the city. We don't need our whole band of soldiers to go and take the city. Let's just go and take the city, and there's not that many people there to fight." So a few of the men come back with this report. And so Joshua says, okay, and so he sends 2,000 or 3,000 Israelite soldiers to fight and to take and to conquer the city of Ai. But guess what happens? They lose. They lose the battle, and they should not have lost the battle. 2,000 or 3,000 Israeli soldiers should easily have taken care of the smaller city of Ai. It should have been no problem whatsoever. But they lose, and not only do they lose, some of Joshua's men are actually killed in the battle. That didn't happen at Jericho, even though Jericho was highly fortified, and there was a lot of people in that city. 36 Israelite soldiers were killed during this battle, and they ran away in fear. Well, Joshua is just kind of beside himself, and he doesn't understand what happened, and so he goes to talk to God about it. And he's very distraught, Joshua is, and he falls to the ground in front of the Ark of the Covenant, praying, begging the Lord to, help him understand what went wrong, praying for God to answer him, to talk to him. And God says to Joshua in verse 10, "Get up. Why are you laying on your face?" Okay, God is kind of not exactly comforting to Joshua. He's upset. He says, "Get up off the ground. Why are you laying down? Your people have sinned, and someone took stuff from Jericho and put it in their own tent when they were told not to. They didn't donate it to the tabernacle like I instructed. And that is why you lost." And the point here is this. Listen, as much as we try, we cannot hide our sin from God. We can hide it from other people. We can even lie to ourselves about the wrongs that we do, but we cannot hide our sin from God. Adam and Eve tried to hide in the Garden of Eden after they had sinned, and it didn't work. God found them. Achan tried to hide the stuff that he stole, and we're going to see very soon that he's found out. So God's word tells us, this is a fact, guys, your sin will be discovered. Numbers 32:23 says, "Be sure that your sin will be found out." It'll find you out, right? It's a promise from the Lord. So don't try and hide. Don't try and hide the wrong things that you do. God tells Joshua this. He says, you're not going to win another battle until this guilty person is found and punished. My hands are off. I'm not going to help you win any battles. I'm not going to be with you in your battles until you take care of the sin problem that's in your camp. I'm done for a while. So God tells Joshua this, that he would go and he would seek the guilty person out and he would discover them. So this is what happens, okay? This is very interesting. Think of a filter while you're shopping. How many of you have ever shopped on like Amazon or a website? And you're searching for, let's say you're searching for a pair of shoes. And you know what you want, but just typing in the term shoes is going to get you like 1 million different shoes on Amazon, right? So you click the filtering section and you click the box that says women's. So all of the men's and the kids' shoes disappear. Then you go and you click heels, and all of the tennis shoes and all of the sandals disappear. Then you narrow by color and you click just red. And so all of the other colors of shoes disappear from off of your screen. Until finally you are left with all of the red high-heeled shoes to look at. Okay, filtering makes it easier. So you choose your size and you click buy and you're done. This is what God did. God did the same thing. In verse 16 to 18 of Joshua 7, God says that it was narrowed to the tribe of Judah. God narrowed the guilty person down to one tribe, just one, Judah. Then he narrowed the guilty party to one certain family. Then he narrowed it down to the man of that family, and that man was named Achan. So Joshua confronts Achan, and you know what? Achan admits what he did. Achan admits what he did. This is what Achan says to Joshua. He doesn't lie about it. He says, I have sinned against the Lord God of Israel, and this is what I did. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, I coveted them, and I took them. And behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver is underneath it. He admitted what he did, and he told them where to find it. So Joshua sends some people to search Achan's tent, and of course they find the clothing and the gold and the silver buried there just where he said it was. So now, what did God say had to be done to the guilty person in order for sin to be taken care of? The guilty person had to be killed. The guilty person had to be killed. God always keeps his word. And Achan's greed cost something. It cost him his life. By the way, like all sin, our sin doesn't just affect ourselves. It doesn't just affect us. When we do wrong, it many times affects others around us, whether it's a family or friends or neighbors, people in our church, people we care about. Shoplifting, stealing. It affects the store and it affects the employees financially, and then the store has to raise their prices for all the customers to make up for the loss of the revenue of when someone steals. They pass it on to the customer. You don't drink and drive. You can cost someone else their life. You participate negatively in a chaotic home, and a chaotic feeling in your home. It affects your younger siblings, and it affects the home. There's many other examples of how your sin affects not just you. Achan wasn't the only one affected. Verse 24 tells us that not only was Achan killed that day, but his sons, his daughters, his animals, all that he had was destroyed. They stoned and burned Achan and everything he had. Sin must be paid for by someone. It's sad that it cost Achan's family their lives. Now, people have said that that's not fair. His kids were innocent, and I'm going to post a note when I finish this video. I'm going to post a note below the video about why I believe that this is not entirely true. They weren't entirely innocent. So make sure you read that. So takeaways from today. Number one, God's instructions are given for a reason, and when they are given, they are to be followed. So many times we try to say to ourselves, well, did God really mean, or did God really say that? Is that really what God meant? Yeah, okay. The devil asked Eve that same question. The devil tried that back in the beginning to get us to question God, to get us to question God's motives, and to get us to question God's intent behind his instruction. Did he really say that? Is that really what he meant? It's really what he meant. Number two, there are consequences for disobedience. Why do we act shocked or upset when we reap what we sow? Like, why did this happen to me? You cheat on a test and you get caught, you fail the test. You disrespect your parents, you have worse, disrespectful children yourself when you're older. You drink and do drugs, you mess up your body, or you hurt someone else. You abuse drugs, become a drug addict or an alcoholic, you end up with health and money problems. You have premarital sex, you can end up with an STD or a baby. Things that we do have consequences, and these things affect more than just ourselves. Sin, whatever sin it is that you're dealing with, please remember this. Sin will take you further than you intended to go. It will cost more than you are wanting to pay, and it will keep you longer then you're willing to stay. Please remember that. Check out the note below after I post this and about Achan's children. And I love you all very much, and I miss you. And I will see you all here again on Monday. Bye.